Hey party people, today I wanted to go over my EDC Trauma Kit that goes into my vehicle. This always lives in my trunk and it gives me a way to treat people for trauma related injuries if they're passengers with me, if it's for myself, or if it's for someone else that I might find on the side of the road or at an event or something. I have a way to treat them until the EMTs get there to give them complete medical care. The idea behind this kit is to have a compact way to do all those things and have a lot of the necessary materials in a small container. It's not going to solve every single instance that you could find if you're injured out in the wild, but it has just enough to stop the bleeding and keep people alive long enough for EMTs to reach them. So let's check out this kit, the bag itself, everything that's inside, and the ways in which you can use this to help keep people alive. So the bag itself is the SealBags large waterproof tactical MOLLE pouch. It retails for $39.99. It measures in at 8.5 by 7.5 by 3.8 inches. And this whole bag is IPX67 rated for waterproofing. What that 67 means is that it's both waterproof as well as dustproof. So because of its construction, as well as its high quality zipper, it keeps dust and debris from getting into the bag as well as water. And the 7 denotes that it's submersible in water for up to 1 meter for 30 minutes without any kind of water ingress. So that's really important to have if you are using this on something like a boating trip, kayaking, you're in a large rainstorm. You don't have to worry about the gear, the bandages and things inside getting moist and getting ruined. The outside of this bag has this nice waterproof material. It feels pretty rubbery or silicone, and it ensures that it's not a woven fabric so that water can't get in. You have these 6 MOLLE webbing straps on the front that you could put knives or other pens or external gear or clip a carabiner to. So it gives you a lot of options there. As far as the front, you have this little hook and loop morale patch pattern. And I just bought one of these first aid kit labels that's Velcro off of Amazon. And I just have it stuck on the front here so that if someone opened the trunk of my car or I was incapacitated, they could see that this is where the medical supplies live. On the back of the bag, you have a way to attach this externally, whether it's externally to your vehicle, externally to some other backpack or pouch. You have these 2 button clips as well as some MOLLE webbing attachment points so that it gives you a lot of versatility as far as ways to attach this. And then the zipper itself, you have this nice little T handle here so you can grab it with 2 fingers because you need a lot of force to open this waterproof zipper. As you can see, it goes all the way around and it's like this super sealed rubberized zipper. And it's a little bit hard to open, so they give you a little bit of extra force here to grab with 2 fingers, and that gives you enough leverage to pull this open. Not the smoothest, easiest zipper, but because it's waterproof and dustproof, it's worth the extra force it takes to open because of the protection that it affords you. So I can close that up again, and then pull it open. You just gotta use a little bit of force. And then on the inside of the bag, you have a couple different sized elastic loop points so that you can attach different gear on the inside. And then the other side is a hook and loop pattern. So if you have other kinds of organizers or anything that's in a holster that has Velcro on it, you could stick it to this side as well. And then there's plenty of interior volume for all of your gear. Now let's go over everything I have this loaded out with. So first up, we just have some waterproof medical tape. This is really useful for attaching gauze or securing bandages of any kind. It comes in its own little container here. And the fact that it's waterproof means that it will hold up a little bit longer if someone has a ton of blood or you're in any kind of conditions where there's rain or water around. This would be really helpful. Next up, I just have this little CPR mask that allows you to breathe air into someone's mouth without putting your mouth directly on them. You need CPR training to use this, so I wouldn't use this if you don't know what you're doing, but it's important to have in case someone you're with has CPR training. It gives them the option to have another way besides just chest compressions to breathe life into someone and maybe resuscitate them. Then I have this large triangular bandage, and it's a non-sterile bandage, and this is used mostly for compression. So if you had gauze in a wound, like sterile gauze, or you had a bandage and you needed some extra pressure, you could wrap this really tightly around it to give it compression, and it comes with a couple safety pins to secure it shut. So this is really useful to have if someone's bleeding and you really need to compress the wound. Then I just have a roll of sterile gauze here. This is in a tubular wrap form, so you can just wrap it around someone's arm, wrap it around their leg, and use it as a way to protect a wound or stop bleeding. You could also pack this into a large laceration if you wanted to really stop the bleeding. Then one of the most important pieces of the kit is a nice tourniquet. And this is a really nice tourniquet. I made sure that it was one that was highly rated by EMTs. And this is the SAM version of the tourniquet. So the difference between this one and a regular tourniquet that a lot of people use is that they typically only have Velcro to hold it in place. This one has a combination of Velcro as well as these little holes in the belt loop that's secure to this little strap here. So it gives you the option, if the Velcro fails, that you still have a way to cinch this down tightly to stop the bleeding if someone has a major wound. So I think that little upgrade gives this a leg up on the Velcro only version. And you also have a nice little way to turn it with this bar here. So you want to make sure you learn how to use a tourniquet effectively, but this is a really great one to choose if you're looking for a high quality tourniquet to keep with you in your medical kits. Then I just have a little emergency first aid guide. If you're with people who are laymen and have never done first aid before, this has a lot of little tips in it that give you information on how to treat a variety of different wounds. If you want to do cardiac arrest or CPR training, things like that, it has some information that gives you a quick reference point if you just need a little bit of extra info in treating someone who is in medical danger. Then I just have a whole bunch of different size of Band-Aids. This isn't going to save someone's life, but if you have a minor cut and you just need to protect it in the short term, this could be really helpful. And it's important to have a lot of different sizes of them. So I have small, medium, and large bandages. And this could be really helpful if you're out in the wild camping and you just need to protect a small wound until you can get home and clean it out completely. This will give you a little bit of protection from the elements. Then I have an emergency survival blanket. This is just one of those kind of metallic-y material, very thin, like space blanket materials. And this is really important in a medical kit because blood doesn't coagulate below a certain temperature. So if you're in a cold environment and someone has a severe injury, you may want to cover them up with this blanket to not only prevent them from going into shock from being too cold, but also to warm them up to help their blood clot a little bit easier. So it's nice to have this, and it's very compact. Then I have some one-time use thermometers here, and this is really important also to go along with that space blanket, so you know what the temperature of the person is, so you know if their blood will start to clot or not, or if someone has a fever and you need to treat it. These are really important to have. I have 4 of them. They're kind of like one-time use only, but they're great to get someone's body temperature when you need to see what that is. Then I have an instant cold pack. If someone has some severe swelling, they broke a bone, they sprained an ankle, any kind of sprain, bruise, or swelling, you can pop the little bubble that's on the inside of this cold pack, and it makes this super cold so that you can help to reduce the swelling. Then in these little loops here, I have a Sharpie marker. And anytime you have a tourniquet, it's really important to have a Sharpie marker because you can mark the time that you put the tourniquet on so they know whether the limb is still worth saving or not. You can also use this to write notes or leave medical information. If you have allergies or things like that and you're going to go unconscious, you could always like write it on yourself, write it on your arm. You could write down emergency contact information on your arm so that if you passed out and someone found you, they know who to contact. It's just always useful to have a Sharpie with you. Then in one of the other slots, I just have a nice pair of tweezers. This is great for pulling out splinters. And then the other end also has a tick remover. So I think it's important if you're in a wooded area or camping to have a way to remove splinters or debris from a wound with the pointy end. And then you also have this flat end to remove ticks. Then the last thing I have in these elastic loops is just a little pair of trauma shears. So I really need to get a better pair of trauma shears. These are little cheap, crappy ones. They're still able to cut through some light clothing. I've tried it. But if you had something like jeans or heavier clothes, you may need a bigger, beefier pair of trauma shears. I'm working on upgrading these, but just to kind of symbolically say you need a pair of trauma shears, it's really important to have to cut clothing off of people if you need to get closer to a wound, to see the damage, to fix it, to help stop the bleeding. You need some kind of way to cut away people's clothing. Then I have some sterile gauze dressing pads. These can be packed into a wound or used to dress a wound. I have 3 different ones here. I also have a sterile non-woven sponge. so that if you just needed it more for protection of a wound, the non-woven variety would be helpful for that. Then I have 2 pairs of nitrile gloves. If you need to touch something like a wound and you're afraid of bodily fluids or fluid to body contact, these are really helpful to have. I have 2 pairs just in case you had multiple people treating people, or if one of them gets damaged or dirty, you have a backup. Then I just have a trauma pad, and this is great to use if someone has a heavy laceration. It really helps with clotting. It's very absorbent. You can pack this into a large lacerated wound, and you're able to kind of absorb some of that blood flow so that they won't bleed out as quickly, and you can really pack it down into a wound. So this is really important to have as well. Then I also have a large clotting sponge, so that if someone has a very large wound, a gunshot wound or something like that, you could press this directly into the wound and help clot it instantly. And I think it's really important to have some kind of quick clotting item to really help stop the bleeding if it's some kind of large fatal injury. Then I just have some Benadryl here, because if someone's having a severe allergic reaction, it helps to have an antihistamine to kind of help them from their breathing way closing off or something like that. It would be better to have an EpiPen, and if I had one, I would put that in here, but this is a good backup as far as like minor allergic reactions and things like that. Then lastly in here, I just have some ways to clean your hand and clean your wounds. I have a BZK towelette. This is antimicrobial. You can use it to wipe your own hands clean if you're dealing with someone's open wound, or if you want to wipe a site that you're trying to treat on their body and make sure there's no external germs that are going to get into the wound. This is helpful. I've got 2 more of those BZK towelettes. And then I have 2 alcohol prep pads, which kind of accomplish the same thing. If you want to wipe down your hands, or you want to wipe down a wound site or somewhere that you're giving care, this will help not introduce new bacteria. And then lastly, I just have a little 2-pack of some basic Advil liquid gel NSAIDs. And this is really helpful if someone has like a headache or something minor, or they're in a lot of pain. This can help reduce the pain a little bit. And that's it as far as my kit goes. So overall, is this kit perfect? No, it's not. Will it treat 100% of injuries? No, but it'll do just enough to keep someone alive until EMTs can get there. That's kind of the idea behind this kit, keeping it very compact and light so that I can keep it in the back of my vehicle. And then I always have a way to treat wounds and injuries when I'm out and about, whether it's for myself, a passenger, or someone we come across. I have a way to be helpful and be kind of a good Samaritan and try to help keep someone alive until EMTs can reach them. If you're a real-life EMT or a doctor and you have any suggestions for things I should swap out, leave out, or swap into this kit, please leave a comment below because I'm always looking for ways to improve this kit. If you like EDC and medical kit videos like this, please like, comment, and subscribe because it helps the channel out a lot. Thank you as always for watching, and with all that being said, I will definitely see you in the next video. Take care.